not a politician, but the appearance of a young climate change activist. Such is the stardom of Greta Thunberg that every photographer wants a shot, creating something of a media mob.
What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now!
She came to show solidarity with protesters calling for banks to stop funding fossil fuel extraction as part of a global day of action. Here in London, one of the focal points was Standard Chartered Bank, and activists from around the world on their way to Glasgow stopped by.
These banks are actually actively funding our destruction. It's important that we call them out for it and ask them to defund immediately from these coal companies.
What you're asking for, though, is big. You're asking for a fundamental change in the economic structure. Is that a realistic ask?
The city where I live in, the capital of the Philippines, Manila, will be underwater in the span of 30 years due to the fossil fuel industry that is funded partially by Standard Chartered. So that reality is something we need to fight for. And it's very frustrating that companies like Standard Chartered think it's a big ask, when in reality we're just fighting for our survival.
And I have a bigger ask for Standard Chartered Bank. Do you care about the people? Do you care about your family? Do you care about your community? Because this climate crisis isn't just going to affect us, it's going to affect everyone.
We asked Standard Chartered for a response, but have yet to hear back. Their CEO has previously said it's unreasonable to expect banks to stop financing fossil fuels. As for Greta, she eventually managed to escape the mob. The chaotic scenes perhaps a taste of what's to come in Glasgow as thousands begin heading to the climate change conference. The UK government is hoping to lead the world in bringing down emissions. But with plans for a new oil field in the North Sea, questions are being asked about its own approach. Greenpeace claim the body responsible for regulation may be allowing fossil fuel companies to mark their own homework. The Oil and Gas Authority is a government regulator. It's in charge of issuing licences to oil and gas companies. It was set up with the aim of maximising oil and gas exploration in the UK. But it's also now tasked with helping the UK reach net zero emissions by 2050.
You have this weird dichotomy. Of the one hand, they're regulating this industry whilst also committed to ensuring its continued existence, despite the fact that it's at odds with our global climate targets.
In a meeting held in June, the Oil and Gas Authority's Exploration Task Force, which includes representatives from companies like Shell and Total, discussed the government's plans to introduce climate change checks before licences are given out. The reps were then asked to vote on which recommendations they thought should be priority for the Oil and Gas Authority. Isn't it normal for a regulator to invite in industry bodies and companies and consult with them?
The government regulator is giving the oil and gas industry the VIP treatment, allowing them to vote on climate compatibility checks before anyone else has had the chance to look at them. The idea that they're going to vote for robust climate compatibility checks is like expecting turkeys to vote for Christmas.
We put this to the Department for Business, who told us these claims are nonsense, adding a full public consultation will take place on the climate checks. They say the discussions between the Oil and Gas Authority and industry leaders are independent of government. So, with just days to go before the Glasgow summit kicks off, the pressure is building up.